Please help me welcome His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama.
So indeed, I feel very happy today to see young boys and girls actively involved about these sort of values. So reason I usually sharing with people. Now we are 21st century. Only 10 years passed. 90 years are yet to come. My generation, perhaps Chancellor also maybe, and some others older people, we belong to 20th century. So our century gone. So my generation now ready to say bye-bye to this new sort of century. What we learned through my own century, that's 20th century. I think 20th century really become, I think, very, very important sort of century of human history. During that period, a lot of sort of scientific inventions and wonderful things to see found. At the same time, that 20th century also becomes century of bloodshed. According to some historian, during that century, over 200 millions of people killed. And also that century used nuclear weapons. I just come from Japan. That nation actually experienced how terrible nuclear weapon. Immense violence really produce better world. Then there is some sort of justification. But that also not there. I feel some of the tragedy, beginning of this century, I think due to some mistake or too much use violence or force in 20th century. And also I think certain deeper value are neglected in 20th century. So we are facing the symptoms, the consequences of that century sort of human thinking or human behavior like that. So now, it is quite obvious now, I think firstly. So these younger people, I think below 20, 30. How many people below 20? How many? Raise hand. Oh, okay. Then between 20 to 30, how many? Then above 60. Oh, just now also. Oh, 60. So you actually the generation of 21st century. In order to create new shape of this planet, entirely on your shoulder. So the youth must prepare to build healthy world and utilize this century, 21st century, more constructively. Here are two things we need. Knowledge, more holistic, not just look surround or short-sighted. short term, but long term. And now, I think even like United States, the most powerful nation, but still part of the world. So if world gets some trouble, United States also bound to because of the involved. Like environment sort of problem. Global warming, due to global warming, no single nation escaped from that. So that's one example. And global economy, also now, we whole sort of cover whole world. So therefore, now time come, we must think global level rather than national level. I think many sort of tragedy, even today, I think happen because we too much stress importance of secondary sort of thing, secondary sort of matter like national interest or religious interest and some other. These are secondary. The number one, because of the most important sort of thing is global sort of interest. It is quite clear, like failure or fail to bring satisfactory sort of result from Copenhagen summit, because some of the important nations, they too much emphasis about their national interest rather than global interest. So now, the young people, I think in the past, my generation, too much emphasis about one's own area. That I think failed to bring real positive change on this planet. So now you must think in the terms of global level. Entire over 6 billion human beings, nearly now 7 billion human beings. So I usually describe a sense of global responsibility. That's your sort of vision. Look wider. Then every event by nature much interconnected or interrelated. If may I say so, like Iraq problem. People consider all these problems due to one single person, that's Saddam Hussein. Before that crisis, one occasion I was in Germany, I told Saddam Hussein as a dictator, he cannot sort of, because of that, cannot sort of become like that sort of powerful dictator without a powerful army. Without modern sort of equipment, that army, because a powerful army cannot sort of develop. So these equipment, weapons made in Europe, including Germany, I mentioned. So indirectly, you also made some contribution regarding to produce this dictator. So then, eventually, they target just one absolutely independent, one single person. If that eliminates, then everything okay. That's a mistake. The reality, much complex. So that's very important. When you see some problem, you cannot see that independently. You must look from a wider perspective. When tragedy in New York, September 11th, happened, I was in, I think next few days, I was in Calcutta. Some media people rushing and asked me a question. What do you sort of, my sort of views or my thoughts. Then I mentioned these events may be related with previous 20th century and even 19th century, the colonial power and exploitation in these sort of under colonial rule like that. I mentioned. So today's certain sort of event, it caused much complex. We cannot pinpoint one. So accordingly, when we deal this problem, we must keep all the possible sort of factors. So number one, you should look global level, more wider perspective. Then secondly, sense of responsibility, sense of global responsibility. How it come? As you mentioned very nicely, we enter a human being, same human being, all have same right. And then I will, the reason all come from mother. We all survived by mother's milk, mother's affection. No differences. Even Saddam Hussein or Hitler, all these destructive sort of merciless sort of ruthless sort of people, original, come from the same way. Therefore, they also have the seed of compassion. Yeah. So basically, we human beings, we all equipped in deep insight the sense of concern of others' well-being. More sort of also the awareness, the value of compassion. Then I think we can develop more healthier society, more compassionate society. So more compassionate society through law, impossible. Through sort of resolution, even at the UN, impossible. So compassionate society must start from individual level. After all, community or society means composition of individual. So initiative must start from individual. Individual, then family level, then community level. That I hopefully, although you see, many people agree, fully agree, modern education system, they're not sufficient sort of, they pay attention about moral ethics. That also one sort of reason when people talk about moral ethics, then immediately they felt religious sort of faith. Then the secular education system difficult. So there must be secular ethics, secular way to approach these values. That I always is mentioning. But secularism does not mean disrespect all religion, but rather respect all religion and also respect a non-believer. So there are now people, including some scientists now, we are working as how to sort of introduce in education system the education about moral ethics without touching religion. So that can be universal. So now these youth, young people, you have sort of what's today, a tremendous sort of responsibility to create more better society, more compassionate society. That I want to tell you. So perhaps that's all. Now some questions. I want to take few questions. Perhaps first from this group, then second that group, third that group. Yes, yes. First from here.
They've already collected.
Oh, I see. Oh, then okay, okay.
So we have some questions.
Yes, good.
I'm the messenger of the questions.
Yes, good.
Okay, so Nicole Appin wants to know, do you think Osama bin Laden's death is a good thing, and should people celebrate?
That's, I think, different views from different sort of religious viewpoint. Right? As you see, I think I think you mentioned the enemy is your best teacher.
Yeah.
So from the viewpoint of practitioner of that, rather sad.
Okay, we have another question.
But those people, of course, who believe enemy is absolute enemy, then must celebrate.
Okay.
Yes, question.
So will.i.am wants to know, how do I learn how to harness my energy and connect it to the energy of the planet? Or is it all the same energy?
Energy. I'm skeptical. I don't think some kind of the general energy there and our individual energy, some connection. I don't think that. Well, what is the meaning? Real meaning? What kind of energy? What do you say? Huh? Oh, yes.
Energy meaning your spirit. Is the spirit the same as the spirit of the planet? Part of my misuse of the word energy.
Spirit of worlds already. I don't know. I think again you see different sort of views. Some sort of ancient Indian sort of school of thought believe there is big sort of energy, and we come from that. So eventually we dissolve. So that different views. Buddhists, no. So I personally, I'm Buddhist. But if you feel there is some energy, and then how to make a connection with that energy? How? Yeah. So without that general energy, then no question how to make closer.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay, speaking of energy, Kelly Slater wants to know if you've ever been interested in catching a wave.
Never. Although, when I was young, in Lhasa, Nobulinga, there is quite big sort of pond, man-made sort of big pond. So I can sort of train, swim, but I never. So therefore, when you say I traveled over sort of ocean, and particularly the hot area, sometimes I feel, if something goes wrong, then go to sea. I never sort of learned swim. So I think I may be first person go to sharks for sort of food. Next question.
Okay. So, if you have one piece of advice for all of us in this room to remember today, what would that be?
Recently, I was in Japan. I also mentioned there, and also recently in India, in different places, some meeting. some intellectual, some businessmen, I mentioned, because of the global warming, nature disaster may increase, and shortage of water increase. And meantime, population increase. So therefore, now we cannot take for granted our sort of usual sort of way of thinking. Now we must think sort of more deeply. That I want to share with you. I think nature disaster, when it really happened, is out of our control. So new building, new township, these, I think, accordingly, or in Japan, I usually see, and also the American, because the university, the typhoon university, Missouri, sir. No, I think 2 years ago, you see, the southern, New Orleans, you see, I think a few occasions I mentioned, now, perhaps, I think new location, not necessarily built at the same place, because you see now nature, the sort of say typhoon or these things now will increase. No guarantee now. So therefore, you see, we must think, we must plan more safer place. And Japan also, I mentioned, if possible, you see, these towns should move a little higher place. And then also, you see, think more seriously about using solar system, solar energy. These are very, very important. Now demonstrated the nuclear power, how much sort of serious sort of the danger. In Germany, I think very serious of discussion about the nuclear power, nuclear energy. So I think we must now think new way, not just thinking is the past sort of our old style like that. That I want to share with you. Next.
Okay, so you have over 1.7 million fans on Facebook. You have almost 1.7 million followers on Twitter. And all of these people, all of them, would like to have dinner with you. But if you could only have a meal with 3 of them, who would the 3 be and why?
I think it seems a silly question.
Someone who can fly.
That I want to see to meet them and say, out of my curiosity, how can fly?
How can the youth, by having compassion, how can they change the world?
I think firstly, I think among these youth who receive maximum affection from your own mother, I think in deep inside, much calmer, much stable. Even some irritation come, their response may be more positive. That those children, those youth who receive less affection from our mother, and worst case, some abuse, including sexual abuse, then very difficult. So,
So, just as the golden rule says, just do unto others do to others what you wish others do to me.
So the society, we are social animal. Our life starts through affection. So that's our basic nature. Aggressiveness mainly related with education or because of the intelligence side. So marvelous intelligence there, but must balance with affection. Then our intelligence becoming more constructive. Otherwise, intelligence, you see, the more sort of controlled or guided by hatred, then whole our marvelous intelligence become destructive. So by human nature, we have the great potential to develop infinite love, compassion, global compassion. Only we human beings can do, no other social animal. They also, by nature, biological factor, they have some limited altruism there. But we human being, only human being, because of this intelligence, with help of intelligence, we can develop altruism without boundary. Like that.
I have a question. It's for me. Most of us have been brought up believing that a leader is someone else in the room. What advice do you have for the youth to be leaders themselves?
I think one Buddha sort of message or advice, I think that is very good. That is, you are your own master. Ultimately, you have to take care of yourself. You are your own master. I think that sort of suggestion, I think very nice, very practical. Meantime, of course, you see some people more experienced, more knowledgeable, we can learn from them. But ultimately, entirely depend on yourself.
Thank you.
Get a good feeling, yeah.